Hi everyone, hello, it's Loz. Nice to see you all. Today I wanted to just do a little video about something that's quite close to my heart, teaching kids who are maybe a little bit more introverted than the average kids. So by that I mean, I don't mean shy, because shy and introverted is very different. I'm an introvert myself, and I have to say that sometimes things can be slightly overwhelming. So if there's too much going on, if there's too much noise, too much distraction, and sometimes it's just nice to listen. As an introvert, you like to listen and take things in and maybe not be quite so vocal. I also understand, and from experience, that that's quite difficult to gauge how to teach kids. When they're being like that. So when that's their personality type, it can be a little bit challenging. So I wanted to kind of talk about that and give my views on how I deal with that, and how I think I overcome that in class, and I can gain the trust of the students, because that's very important. Once you gain the trust of them, they'll come back for more lessons. But it's very important that we don't treat the students all the same, I believe. So for an introverted student, I would say a key thing is to not give sensory overload. Now by that I mean too much stimulation, so too much, don't be too loud. I would say in most classes I use my headgear, things like this. So I use things like the cow ears. With more introverted students, sometimes too much headgear or too much paraphernalia can be a little bit intimidating, because they're already trying to concentrate so hard and listen to what you're saying, and to, you know, they're scared a lot of the time. So what you want to do is not overload their senses with too much going on. And I would say also my second thing would be to speak gently. So to speak slowly and speak gently, and just kind of have, with some students, you'll know, with some of the students, the more extroverted ones, you have to shout over them sometimes. With an introverted student, it's a good thing to be closer to the screen. I believe that's a good thing, because they can have more intimacy with you. I would also say, you know, speak gently. So maybe speak more quietly than you would normally, because they can still hear you. You're not having to shout anything, so you have your calming voice and you speak slowly. That's a really good way to show them that you're trustworthy, because that's a key thing, I think. Another thing I would say, regular students of mine will know I use Barney. So he's always in my class. Sometimes he's in charge of the class, sometimes he's not needed quite so much. So you gauge it with all the students. One thing I find with the more introverted students is sometimes they'll listen to Barney, and more than they'll listen to me in the beginning, because they're still trying to trust me, they're still trying to trust the teacher. But Barney gains their instant trust because he's so lovable. So what I would suggest is having a prop that's cuddly, something that's not too loud, something that can also be nice and quiet and can come in close to the screen, so you can gain their trust that way. It's good to talk through your props as well. So maybe if they don't want to follow your instruction for something, if Barney tells them, what will you tell them, Barney? Barney says, would you mind circling for us? So sometimes if Barney says it, then they will do it. They will be more happy and more inclined to do it. So I think that's a good thing to have as a prop, is something cuddly and non-threatening, so nothing too loud, that you can use to kind of help them to come out a little bit. Because obviously if they're introverted, they're not shy. They don't need to come out of their shell. It's just a different personality type. So we have to plan our teaching around those different personality types, as we would if we were talking to anybody in the street. Another thing I would say when you're giving instructions, so sometimes when you're doing the circles, you know, I know it's difficult sometimes to get the students to understand, but it's always good to use actions. So I quite often, in fact with all of my students, but this really will work well with the more introverted personality types is to use your finger, pretend it's a wiggly worm, and say, let's follow the can I see your wiggly worm finger? And they'll show you. 9 times out of 10 they will show you their finger, and then you can say, let's follow the wiggly worm finger. And this is the trick. Use your eyes to go to the screen. They will follow your eyes. If you look at them, they'll just look at you. So if you look towards what you're drawing around, they will naturally follow you and they will pick it up. 9 times out of 10 they will pick that up from that action. Especially with the more introverted personality types, they will enjoy the showing them as well as telling them. So yeah, try and engage them in the class that way. Something I would also say with the classes, don't expect an introverted student to perform in the class the same as an extroverted student or a middling student. Don't expect them to complete all the tasks. There are tasks in those lessons, singing, shouting. There are tasks in there that will make them cringe. So don't push them too much. Tailor the lessons. Within the structure of the lessons, you have the freedom to choose things that will benefit them. So you have to really gauge it, and you have to think, what will this student like? What will they not like? Try a few things, and don't be afraid to miss things out which are not important to the, maybe some of the crazy time. If it's not important to the core of the structure of the lesson, then feel free to miss that part for certain students, because some students love that. Some students, it will just shut them down, and that's not what you want. You want them to be there, present, and to trust you. And if you start making them do silly faces when they don't want to, they're not going to like that, and they will shut down. So gauge it per student, how you would want to do that. Do push them though towards the end of the lesson. I would say don't let them have an easy, just because someone's introverted and they might not want to do some of the things, don't let them then just coast through the lesson without pushing themselves a little bit. I would save that for when you gain their trust. So towards the end of the lesson, start to push a little bit more. Again, don't make them feel uncomfortable, but just push, just a little push to make them do something they maybe wouldn't have done at the beginning of the lesson. And that's a great thing. Don't do that until they're ready, because if you do that before you've got that trust, they will just shut down and they won't trust you. So you really have to gauge it well. It's difficult, this teaching malarkey. You have to really be in tune with the students. And it's so difficult when you go from an extroverted student to an introverted student and all that's in between. It's very difficult. You have to gauge it each time. You have to be a different teacher each time for each student. So I have loads of students. They all get a slightly different me depending on what age they are, what personality they are. They all get a slightly different version of Loz. Something that helps them along their way. And I would say another thing, this is a long video now, another thing, let them show you things, listen to them. So if you're mid-lesson, you've got lots of time, take a second. If they want to show you their toys, show an interest, take a second, listen to them, and you will gain their trust so much more easily than if you try and push the lesson on them. Always complete the lesson, but don't be afraid to slightly deviate to listen to them, because you have to get their trust. If you don't have their trust, the lesson is pointless because they won't learn. So I'd say take time to listen, and if they want to show you their toys, let them show you their toys for 2 minutes and show a genuine interest, and they will come back for more, I guarantee. So yeah, that's all I wanted to say really. I'll bring Barney back in. So as an introvert myself, I think I understand. I remember what I was like at school, and if people pushed me, I would close down. So I keep that in mind when I'm teaching, and so far it seems to work, especially when I have trial classes with very quiet students. They tend to come back to me, so I yeah, it seems to be working. So I think hopefully my advice is good advice. Obviously it's subjective, it's advice from me, so feel free to use your own methods, but I'm just explaining and putting forward what works for me, basically. So I hope any new teachers or any present teachers or any old teachers like me will find that helpful and useful. This video's gone very long, so I'm gonna go now and say bye from Barney. But it's all of that information, I hope that helps, because I know it's a difficult thing and it can be frustrating if you can't get a response from the students. So if you try those things, which I'll list below the video, hopefully you'll have great success. So yay! So it's bye from me, and it's bye from Mr. B Barney. So thank you very much for watching, and take care. See you soon.